Good to see you, Suburban Prepper. Own the night. Time to own the night. The shadows of the night. Night vision devices, thermal scopes, thermal head-mounted devices. That's what I'm going to talk about today. What I like, what I own, what I'd like to own. All good questions. My first entry into night vision military was with the 60th as a flight medic. We had night vision goggles. They were pretty nice. Put them on. They were dual tube. What generation? I'm assuming they're third gen. This was in the early 90s. Very great clarity. Um, Apparently, back in those days, they were costing around $30,000. Apparently, because that's what they said. If you lost them, that's how much you'd have to pay for them. Make sure you didn't lose them. They would get pissed off if you'd hold on to them in your barracks overnight because the LC shop was closed and whenever you had a locker, it was locked. But I digress. Got yelled at for once for doing that. Then, of course, the good old PVS 7. It was a single tube with dual eyelets that you could see out of. You're looking at the same tube through both eyes. I own one. I own a PVS 7. It's beautiful. Of course, it's the night vision grain is what I call it. Gen 3. It's majestic just looking through it. Okay. You can adjust you can wear it without your glasses. How do I say that? The reticule or the optics, you can adjust it for your clarity without the having to wear glasses. Sometimes your glasses get real foggy and you're looking through your glasses, which are this part of the glasses and the inside part of your glasses get foggy, and then mist gets on the night vision, both parts of the night vision device. So it's nice to have it without glasses sometimes. But the thing is, have your glasses handy because as soon as you take them off and you put them back on, you have to readjust those goggles pretty quickly. That's okay. It's so much fun. I go walking around my neighborhood at night with my PVS 7s. I have it head mounted on my helmet, and it's relaxing. The only sad part is that this town is built up, and it's not as dark at night as it used to be. There's more light. I could go a couple kilometers down the road into someone's field on the side of the road and walk around. Probably be just fine if I really wanted to. So that's my first night vision device that I purchased. As far as my first thermal optic, it was a FLIR. So when I was in the Army, we had FLIR thermals on our Blackhawks, okay, and Chinooks, the 160th. For some reason, nobody else had them. And I don't see that anybody else still uses them. It's this big bump, and it picks up FLIR imaging. And I couldn't tell you how powerful it was or any of that. Didn't really care. It was beautiful to look at. But so I knew FLIR when I knew I wanted to get a thermal device. You know, there were other brands out there, unbeknownst to me. But I go with the brand that I know and I remember, and I sort of stuck with it for a while. So FLIR, my PTS-233, it was a 320 thermal scope that I could mount on any of my rifles, and it was fine. And it was meant to, it can be shot off by 50 BMG. It handled great. Of course, you have to adjust the scope. If there's not much adjustment that needs to be done once you get zeroed on one weapon system, because you're not shooting over, honestly, I'm not shooting over 100 yards with a thermal. I don't care who you are. If I can't 100% ID something, it's not going to happen. So it doesn't really need that much adjustment. You just need to make sure where you're looking at and where it's aiming, it's hitting within a couple inches, and you're good to go. Now, definitely not 1 minute of angle at 100 yards, saying I'm a sniper, and it's this FLIR broke out into going back to doing commercial and military applications and quit doing personal or home applications. So they quit making scopes. Well, that's gonna hurt somebody. Two guys are anyway. So FLIR doesn't make them for individuals anymore, but they're still available. So at this point, I had a PVS-7, which I love, and I still have, and I still love. I had my FLIR PTS-233, and the thing is, I wanted to be able to mount my FLIR PTS-233 on my helmet, but it was too bulky, way too bulky. So I let that go for a while. My next adventure in night vision was FLIR 4, a PTS. I'm messing up my words. PVS 14, Gen 3 green PVS 14 with the green optics. Gen 3, beautiful, beautiful. Definitely owned the Noct. Okay. So one eye was unaided, the other eye with the scope or the PVS 14, and it was beauty. It was beauty. And it is so much, and I still have it. Okay, we'll get into that more. And I thought to myself, the Army, the military has fusion optics now. This is back in the day, in 2019-ish, 2018-ish, 17-ish. They started having fusion of thermal and analog optics, not available commercially to individuals. But the poor man's option, and this is by no means poor, okay, because it wasn't cheap, but the poor man's option at the time was to get a imager that you attach to the PVS-14 that picks up a thermal optic image and superimposes it on the PVS-14. It's a clip-on thermal imager. Some call them Jerry's. I have one of the older models, and it's miraculous. That's all I can say. It's miraculous. You have a prism, a nice circle, and inside that circle you have the optic of the thermal that you can see. I've made so many YouTube videos on it on YouTube, different doing different things, walking around, looking at different animals. The fun part, because you're out there right then and there, is in the middle when it's cold out and a dog is walking and their heat signature leaves a paw mark, and you can see that. And the same with a human too. If you're walking barefooted, of course, the shoes insulate your heat signature to the ground. One thing about thermal, though, it doesn't look through glass because glass reflects the heat. You can't see the image of what you're looking at through glass. So it's got its limitations with that. That's the big thing. So at night, don't drive with thermal optics. You're not going to see a damn thing. And two, thermal optics don't allow for three-dimensional viewing. And that's the simplest way I can put it. If you're walking at night in the woods and there's a little privet in the ground with a PVS 14, you'll pick it up and see it. With a thermal, you're just going to see a heat signature of blob because it's basically green or desert. Not going to see it. But when you walk around at night with a clip-on thermal imager and a PVS 14, you'll see so much more. You'll see the animals in the forest, people in the forest that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I had that for a couple of years. On top of my PTS 233, my original FLIR PVS 7. Now, why did I get a PVS 14 and a FLIR PTS 233, a clip-on thermal imager, and a PVS 14? Because I worked hard my whole life, and I want to enjoy finer things. And they're fun. It's fun. It's not a toy, but it is. It's just so stress relieving to go for a walk at night. Okay, some people will say, well, that's not prepping. Well, it is. It's a good stress reliever for me. The technology is out there, folks. Whether or not that's what you consider prepping, that's up to you. The technology is not going to change. The same would be said for using a scope on your rifle. That's not prepping. If you just use a scope, why don't you use just iron sights and you're a true prepper or a survivalist? Why don't you use the technology that you have to make the best out of your best situation? Yeah, train at night without night vision to develop your own night vision with your own eyes. Okay, so I'll let that go for a while. Play with, got my gear, but I needed something else. Okay, I needed something else. And what I needed was a dual tube system, like a PVS 31, but pretty pricey. Okay, I couldn't justify that. At the time, they were $5,000-$6,000. Couldn't quite justify that, but I could justify getting another PVS 14, which I did. I got my two PVS 14s are basically the same model. Well, not basically. They're the same model and make. Not that it would make much of a difference. I have one weak eye and one strong eye. But still, it's just nice to get got it from the same seller, same manufacturer, same optical, blah, blah, night vision, analog, digital, PVS 13 or 14. What am I saying, 13? Gen 3. That's why I got that confused. Okay, great. So I would walk around now, and the helmet was getting a little bit heavier. One PVS 14 was fine, okay, with the helmet mounted gear. Okay, cool. This is 1990s, mid-1990s, and I'm walking around, and I'm pretty cool. Basically, that's what you're doing. And then I had that clip-on thermal imager. Great, And on my long arm, I have a thermal scope, my PTS 233, which comes in 320. Now, 320 is the strength of the optic of the computer that you look through. We'll get into that a little bit later, okay? I said, well, I'm pretty much set. I mean, what else could I want, or need? I guess the better point would be, what else do I need? Well, couple years later, I'm watching some videos about some different devices, about some higher end optics. Now this is from the 2019 era, 2017 era, 2018 era, about 8 years ago now, 7 years ago, give or take. Okay, and I'm like, I want the highest end thermal scope that I could buy for the money and still not break the bank. And I want a powerful one that I can see longer distance with. But I still don't want to break the bank. And one that doesn't have any complaints against it. Like some companies have issues with their gear not working or subpar gear. I didn't want that issue. I wanted some high quality. I wanted to go all out on this one, okay? Maybe I think I got it because I got my promotion from 2 to 3 as a nurse practitioner, and I wanted to celebrate and have a good time. So I got my Envision Halo LR 640. Now, if you hadn't done the math, 320 times 2 is 640. So the thermal optics on my Halo LR, which is long range, is twice as much as my PTS 233, which was 320 optics. Maybe I need to do a video on explaining what all this stuff means on thermal scopes, because I know what it means. I just don't explain it well because I'm not a thermal scope tactician. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know, whatever you call them. I'm not a technologist. I'm just an end user. So, okay, I'll get that. Yeah. So I got my Halo LR and video Halo LR. What am I saying? No, Envision Halo LR and video something else. Start getting all these names of companies mixed up. And I looked through this thing, and I'm wondering, I watch these shows about these guys that say they go and they look for ghosts and they have night vision. And for some reason, none of them ever have any thermal scopes because they're costly and they're just making a show. And I looked through my Halo LR and I realized I'm looking through a different world. I am seeing the world through a way that a human can't see. Total clarity. Now, the Halo LR, it's got a black and white. It's fixed. It's got a black and white vision. That's how you look at it. You can't change the color on it. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to. But I was looking out 500, 600 yards, 1,000 yards away, back when my backyard still had a lot of cornfields and not subdivisions. And I could see some rats. I could see some rabbits squirreling around through the cornfields. In the air, I could see the airplanes because they gave off heat signature. And I could see the low-flying birds because they gave off somewhat of a heat signature. Not that high up, mind you, just lower to the ground. But I could see them. And I could see the heat signature from automobiles, obviously because you have an engine and it's giving off a lot of heat, from far away. And it was just so beautiful. If you hadn't noticed, when I talk about night vision and thermal, I talk about beauty because you're seeing nature, you're seeing humanity from a perspective that you've never seen it before. You haven't seen it like that before. And you're wondering, now, what animals can see in thermal? I don't know. I really don't know. What animals can see in night vision like you can wearing a night vision? They say cats, I guess. I don't know. See what they're seeing. Or maybe some. But I like it. What I do know is that it was, look at that, just so beautiful. Yeah, mounted on my scope on my long arm, shot it, got it zeroed, and the way you zero it, the thermal optic, and you can shoot it during the day because it picks up heat signature. So you line up, you get a piece of aluminum foil, put it on your where you want to zero it on your target, and the aluminum foil picks up the heat, and that's what you aim. And you shoot 5 or 6 shots, aiming at that target, and then you go get your other scope, or you go get a normal scope, and you look and see where it hit, and you have a way of dialing it in from where you're at to where you want to be, and it's just click, 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 down, 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 and there you are. Now you want to confirm that, of course, by doing another 2 or 3 zeroing rounds, or not rounds, but about 5 rounds of checking it twice. And then it has the number of where it's at, so you could write that down. Like it's got a grid square number in case something it loses its memory. You just dial it into that number, like ABC 1 2 3 kind of thing, and you can remember where it's at quite easily. It's like how you have when you're shooting an iron sight, how many clicks up and then clicks to the right or left. You got to adjust it on any piece. If you 16. Well, I'll find and dandy. And then FLIR had to go out and make another device that I've been wanting for a while. Okay, I've been wanting to get a head-mounted thermal optic. There people out there wanted a head-mounted thermal optic. I know I wanted one. So FLIR delivered. FLIR made and I guess they still make it because it's available, the FLIR Breach. It's a nice small thermal optic. It mounts on your helmet, and you can run a PVS 14 with one eye and a FLIR Breach with the other eye. I tried that. I tried that for days, okay? And all I would end up with is a bad headache, because one eye you're looking thermal, the other eye you're looking night vision, and it's hard for the brain to process that, so you end up getting a headache. But for a few brief moments, I was seeing fusion in my brain. I was seeing the combination of both images in my brain together. But to me, it wasn't worth the headache. It got me too much of a headache. Time is 7:36. Can you believe it's September 9th already? 2 more days till September 11th. So what am I trying to say? Here's what I'm basically saying. If you're going to get any electronics like this to mount on your helmet or your body, mount it. Now, obviously, tie it off with some 550 cord. Okay. Now, if you've got it mounted on your scope, that's sort of different. If it's mounted properly, if you want, tie it off too. The best way to tie them off, in that case, would be some zip cord. But with your helmet or your handheld system, 550 cord tied to your body somewhere. Or in the case if you're doing a head-mounted system, your helmet. Duh. That's the way to do it. It's beautiful. So now, well, last year, 2024, late 2023 maybe, the companies have decided to come out with a 1280 strength thermal optics, scopes, looking through. A couple companies make them. So this is the ultimate in thermal optics at this point for commercial users. Now, I don't know what strength the military has. I'm not going to ask anybody. You ask, even as a veteran in the military, start asking questions about stuff like that, and they sort of frown on that, thinking you're a spy or something, which I'm not. So I don't know what the strength that the military uses. I'm sure I could find out, but I don't really care. I know what I have access to. Do I own a 1280 thermal optic yet? No. That's not in the books right now. Would I get rid of any of my other thermal optics or night vision optics? No. Those are an investment, and they're to be utilized. It's not a stagnant investment where, like Hummel, where you just stays in a shelf and you look at it and like, oh, that's such a beautiful Hummel. And I believe Hummels are very beautiful. We grew up in Germany. My parents would buy Hummels all the time at a near manufacturer price because we were there where they were made. And I love Hummels. But you can't take a Hummel out and play with it and walk around in the woods with it because you'll break it. So that's it. Definitely, when you're going around with thermal and optics, you have to know the life of the battery. So the analog night vision, the battery can last a week, 2 weeks, 40, 50 hours. Okay. On the other hand, the thermals eat battery up. So have battery backup on hand. What I do is with my helmet, I know you just don't want your helmet to be heavy, but so I put in the back pouch of my helmet here, okay, I put extra batteries for my devices that are on my head. For the it doesn't take rocket science to figure out where you're going to store batteries. 16, they have a little place where you could store gear. Don't store it. That just messed up the harmonics of shooting the rifle. I wouldn't do it. Water. It's great. So that's my spiel on night vision. Okay. Some other things I want to talk about. I just want to get this off in my chest. Okay. Your prepper pantry. Your long-term food storage for when shit hits the fan. What are you storing in your prepper pantry? Anyone know what you're storing? Leave a comment below. So I don't tell people what to do. I tell people what I do. You decide what works for you. But don't buy the pop-up cans of canned food. Excuse me. Why? Because for some reason I got a feeling that those pop-up cans are the weakest link to that canned item. Buy the one where you have to use a can opener to access the food. Well, you say, well, Suburban Prepper, that means I need a can opener. Yeah, you need like 2 or 3 of them. I sort of have an obsession with every once in a while I'll buy an extra can opener and I'll just put it somewhere related to my prepping and my food storage. Why? Because you just don't know when you don't need one. But I've always just having access. And that P38, the little thing that they put in the survival packets, and people can, I don't know why someone would buy them. The little hand click, 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 and you got to go over it in the can, and your thumb and your fingers start to knot up and bleed or get cut. because you cut it on the can and it's horrible. That's not prepping. That's because someone in the military did it. It makes it cool, which is not how things are not cool that way. But what about you? What kind of foods do you like to? What canned foods do you like to prep? Well, for me, the biggest thing is foods that are high in protein, high in calorie. Meat, prep meat, flavored meat, chicken, whatever you like to eat. Chicken, turkey. They have shrimp. You can get shrimp, prepackaged, canned. Sardines. I love canned sardines. But the problem is, again, some of those sardines you have the kind of package that opens up like that with the. You want to get the one where you have to use a can opener to open it. Okay, just for safety reasons, you don't want that popping up. Canned ham, that's always been a winner. Beef, hamburger meat, turkey, stuff that you like to eat that's been canned. Okay? Yeah. So on my page, of course, I have a Amazon storefront now. I'm starting to list items that I think are important for preppers. I'll probably put a link in the description. Get to it eventually. I'm doing a live stream today. But one thing I don't personally prep for is because I have a freeze dryer. I don't buy freeze dried food. I'm not saying I never have, but since I have my own freeze dryer, I can make my own freeze dried food instead of buying prepackaged freeze dried food. I mean, say what you want. It fills a niche and a need for some people. But I know what I'm making when I make my own freeze dried food. And a lot of my garden goes right into the freeze dryer. I've got some carrots I need to process that I harvested. Gonna freeze dry them. I picked about 90% of my lima beans and other beans, pinto beans. I think I've picked about everything that I was going to grow. And I don't know if I need to freeze dry them. I freeze dry a batch. I'm just going to be honest with you. Here's the mistake I made with my gardening this year. Well, I made several mistakes. But the big mistake that I made was I planted some bush lima beans that just grow up to about 2 or 3 feet, and you get what you want out of them. And then I had climbers. I didn't realize that I had 2 different makes of beans because I had set up some places for them to grow, and a lot of them didn't grow because they were just bush. Now that would have been fine if I had a nice long field and I could just once it was ready to harvest, pull the whole thing out and get all the pods that way. But in my raised beds, I want to pluck a lot of things out. So that was one thing that I did wrong in my prepper garden this year. The other thing I did wrong is I overplanted. I always overplant every year. And so this year, I'm honestly not going to get as many carrots as I thought I would get. Although, because I finished harvesting all my green beans, or not green beans, lima beans and pinto beans, the carrots will start to grow because they'll get some more sun now and grow before it gets too cold. And then my second harvest of carrots that I planted about a month ago, they'll be ready in about a month and a half. So I'll have plenty of carrots. And now my ginger, understand I've never planted ginger, so I still don't know what the outcome's going to be. But I planted ginger back in May, and it's a long growing season for it. Those plants are starting to take off now that there's more room. And of course, the tomatoes, I have room to clip the bottoms of the tomatoes so they get plenty of air and sun, and they'll take off now because there's all the beans are gone. I should have just listened to my gut instinct and just grew the tomatoes by themselves, and I should have put carrots as a cover crop and not mixed them with lima beans. But for some reason in my head, I thought it would be a great idea to have one side lima beans, one side carrots in the middle of the main crop. The other main crop that took off, that's we're starting to harvest now, are the eggplant. And the eggplant's starting to grow. And we've already plucked about 5 of them. I'd say we have about 30 more, 40 more to go before the season's over. My wife likes the eggplant. I'm impartial to it. I already harvested all the purple potatoes. The wife told me to plant them. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll plant them. But they come back small. They're small potatoes. Okay, not because I did anything wrong, but they just come back as small potatoes. They're not like the russet potatoes. So next year, when I do my prepper survival garden, I'm not planting small potatoes. I'm wasting space with these beds by planting small potatoes. I'm going to plant large potatoes, the russets, and so forth and so on to get more for my space. We'll talk about the carrots. One other mistake I made with the carrots is the colored carrots, that you can get different colored varieties. The white ones don't come out good at all for some reason. They grow, the plant grows nice and big, but the carrot is scrawny and hard. It's almost like it's nothing. It's not anything. It's not, to me, even, I wouldn't even eat it. So I wouldn't eat it, but guess what? I threw it outside my fence so the rabbit that lives in our subdivision between our 2 houses, zucchini plant, it's gone, it's done. I had 1 zucchini left that I forgot to harvest. So guess what I did? And you probably someone saw it and like, what the hell's he doing? I took the zucchini, I threw it over the fence, and I'll let the rabbit eat it. They'll eat it. It's a nice small zucchini, or it was just sitting there, and it wasn't going to harvest it. So I got to take those the plants, the zucchini, and put them in my compost bin, and just let them compost. I got a lot of stuff composting in there now. But here's the thing, folks. Here's what I'm looking forward to. Sweet potatoes. I can't wait to harvest the sweet potatoes. I planted them pretty much around the same time, give or take a couple weeks. And some of the sweet potato plants, the leaves are starting to turn a little brown. And that tells you that they're getting ready. But here's the thing, folks. You want to make sure that leave them as much as you can before you harvest them. I'm not going to even like open one up and take a look, with the soil. I'm going to just let it wait till the leaves die off. So this guy behind me wouldn't even let this bus out. Oh my God, what a jerk. Yeah. So, and I guarantee you, I'm going to have a ton of, well, I can't guarantee anything. Hell, nothing might be growing in my bins with the sweet potato. We'll see when we harvest them. But last year, I mean, I had a couple 100 pounds of sweet potatoes. We'll see what I get this year. And I know I'm not going to weigh them, but for the limited space, that's a lot of good stuff. And to me, you think of sweet potato and you think of potato, and your taste buds just think it's like a potato, but it's different. It has a different flavor, so your body's not. You think it's a different flavor. It's got its own unique flavor. I find that when I mix sweet potato with hot pepper, and it has a nice kick to it, and it's a lot more delicious. Some people mix it with butter. For me, it's hot pepper. Whether it's the hot pepper I grew last year or stuff that I have in my cabinet, whatever. It's all good. So right now I'm going to reserve my freeze dryer to start freeze drying some of my harvest, because when the tomatoes come in, they're going to all come in, and there's going to be too much, an abundance of them, thank God. And we're going to have to do something for long-term storage. You can't just let a tomato sit in the fridge forever or sit out. And so I pick the tomatoes when they're green, okay? And I got these big tomatoes, these big beef tomatoes. They look like oranges and apples, honestly. Some of them look like small, bigger round fruit. It's good, but you can make whatever you want to make out of them. And some of them are not being so big, but pick them when they're green, and they'll turn you up red. Bring them inside next to a banana or another red tomato, and they'll turn red. And you'll get a couple more out of it. The plant will make a couple more tomatoes. So time is 7:56. Driving to work today, Tuesday. Ever since I took away my work from home day, I'm gonna just be honest with you, it's not the same. It's not the same. So we're gonna sign out of here in a minute. I don't think I'm gonna be able to pass this bus in time. No. So I got to wait for all this traffic, and the people around here are so impatient. Look, I can park. It's like they see that I'm turning, so they speed up the incoming traffic. All right. Well, that was a good talk. Thanks for watching, and of course, I'm sure I'll get more people to watch it later. This is survival. This is resilience. This guy's speeding. What the hell? This is Suburban Prepper. I gotta wait. I gotta see who the hell this guy is, driving like a bat out of hell. Or gal. I don't know who it is. Is life that short? It's the one lady, one of the ladies from the call center. God, they're impatient.